So I've been thinking a lot about teaching lately. I've been doing it online, I've been doing consulting, and I teach a graduate class online at the University of Scranton. And this class in particular has really got me thinking about how I teach, how we as a group, as a community, as a group of academics, maybe, how we all teach collectively, and how we best teach programming. So, to give you some background, I'm teaching a health informatics class at the University of Scranton. And the class was originally designed to introduce people who might have a healthcare background or an IT background, the basics of programming. And the assignments were designed that way, the reading material was selected that way, the extra resources were determined that way. And this semester, I've been getting a lot of feedback that the programming assignments, specifically Python, are too hard. And I've learned that it's because that most of the students coming into the program now don't have any background in computer science or technology, really. So, yeah, I agree with them that these assignments are definitely too hard. The first assignment is an assignment where they are asked to sort strings. And for someone who has never seen programming before, maybe even somebody who doesn't use a computer that often, that is a very difficult assignment. And the way that I know that, just aside from getting the feedback, is try describing the process of sorting a list of words or phrases, because that's what a string is. So try describing that process to somebody, um, like they're 5 years old, right? Explain it to me like I'm five. If I give you a list of words or phrases, you could sort those words, right? You would internally look at the list and then say, okay, well, this goes here first, and but what are the steps? Oh, well, I take the first two words and I see if the first letter, which has the first letter that comes first. But if they have the same first letter, then I have to look at the next letter. But that's not really how you would sort the whole list, right? You would probably go through the whole list and pick out the letters that come first. So, are there any A's? No, I don't see any A's. Are there any B's? Yeah, here's a B. That's actually two B's. So, describing that process to somebody who, just in general, how you would do it, can be difficult because there's a lot of things that you need to think about. Translating that into code is harder. And I know for like a seasoned programmer, that's like computer science 101, right? Sorting strings. We learn that. We learn different sorting algorithms. But for somebody who's never seen programming before, they now need to describe this process in a way that can be converted into code and then understand all the moving parts of the code. So I need to know how control structures like if statements and loops work. I need to understand how methods work. I need to understand how to read in a list of strings. Is it in a text file or a Word document, right? I don't know. How do I read that in? And then I have to go through the process of sorting the string. And again, for somebody who has never seen this before, that is a daunting task. And it starts them off on the wrong foot. But I want to change my approach. And so I've changed my approach for this course. And I think it's better. I hope it's better. And here's kind of my process, right? So the first thing that I do is I give them a reading resource, maybe a primer. So I'll give them a primer on whatever programming language that we're using. In this case, Python. I converted this from my PHP primer that's available for purchase on creatorcourses.com. And I just explain from the top down kind of how Python works. These are variables. These are the different types of variables that we can have. Here's how we make decisions in programs. Here's how we repeat things in programs. So this is what I'm presenting to students. The first thing I do is I give them a Python primer. And then I tell them that there are a couple of resources out there to get you up and running with Python easier than working on the command line. Because that's the other thing that we're doing in this course. We're saying not only do you have to learn how to program, but you also need to learn how to use the command line. So I'm trying to lower the barrier of entry for them to use Python. So I found an IDE called Thonny or Tawny. It's Thonny. It's free. It's very simple. You install it, and now you can start running Python. The other website or the other resource is a website called Repel.it. I think it's REPL. I'll link it in the description. But it's an online IDE essentially for Python. So those two resources allow them to just start writing Python code without having to maybe install Python and go through this and then use the command line, right? Because that's, again, another barrier to entry. The next thing I do after that, so the primer, the easier resources, is I gave them an assignment that requires them to write no code at all. It's an assignment designed to just help them understand programming logic. So I present a few facts to them. Alice is 24 years old. Bob is 31 years old. And then I have what that syntax might look like in Python. So I'll have Alice underscore age gets or equals 24. And I present them with some facts. Then I give them simple one-line statements written in Python syntax. So, and then the English equivalent. So I'll have Bob is 27 years old. And then I'll have 27 equal Bob underscore age. And they have to tell me if that's true or false. So I'm asking them to evaluate simple as possible one-off statements and tell me if they're true or false, just to get them comfortable with the idea of taking English, converting it into code, or taking code and interpreting it as English, and then evaluating the statement. Then I present them with a set of control structures. So if statements, mostly, I'll throw in some loops, and I'll say, okay, evaluate this control structure and tell me what gets printed out. So I'll say, I gets 5. If I is greater than 4, print the variable I is greater than 4. Else, print the variable I is less than or equal to 4. And then they have to tell me what gets printed. What's the result of that control structure? And again, it gets more complicated. I integrate some of the statements using Alice and Bob that I had from an earlier section. And so they kind of build on each other. And then I offer bonus points. Describe what's going on in English. Or what would make this statement true? And then I have them do the same thing for loops and arrays. And I say, hey, okay, now here's a loop. Tell me what is printed here. Maybe describe the process in English. And then finally, I'll do the same thing for methods or functions. And then finally, I'll say, okay, now it's your turn to write a hello world program. So this is all in that first assignment. Understand program logic, get comfortable describing program logic in English and vice versa, and then hit me with hello world. The second, assignment after the primer and the non-coding coding assignment is I have them just practice input and output. So I say, okay, you're going to ask the user this set of questions. What's your name? What's your age? What's your job title? What's your favorite number? And where do you live? And then I want them to give responses based on the answers. So, what's your name? My name is Joe. Hello, Joe. Or how old are you? And I'll have them say, oh, okay, I'm 32. Wow, in 20 years, you'll be 52. And I have them add the age to a number. And that gets them comfortable doing operations with variables. And then again, I offer bonuses. So I'll say something to the effect of, create a method to figure this part out. You don't have to, but if you do, you get bonus points. Make the third response grammatically correct. So the third response is in response to their job title, right? So I'm a programmer or I'm an educator. So I have them say, okay, use a or an depending on the inputted answer. That's pretty complicated for a first time programmer, but it's a bonus. It maybe gets them thinking, oh, yeah, that's not a thing that I would have thought to do until I had already written the program. And then finally, the last assignment that I like to give to a beginner program or a beginner programmer is a number guessing game. And I really like a number guessing game because you can easily build on it. First, you pick a number, it's just a static number, accept input from the user, compare the two numbers, say if it's right or wrong. All right, now use the random generator, the random number generator function or method to randomly select a number and compare the two numbers. So now you have to store that number in a variable. You have to compare the two variables. Now, have them keep guessing until they get the number right, or allow them to guess more than once, right? So that's a while loop. While the latest guess doesn't match the correct number, keep asking. So, and then you can put certain parts of that in a method. So that is the approach that I'm taking from here on out, or at least for the foreseeable future, just to see how well it works. Originally, I would just go straight to I would give them the primer, and I would go straight to the number guessing game. But I think the 2 steps before that are really important because first I'm having them try to understand programming statements in a medium they understand, which is just written word, English. Then I have them do simple input output. And so that's one very important part of programming, accepting input from the user and doing something with it. And then I have them build on it. This is something I just rolled out to these new students. We'll see how it plays out. It's something that it's really been on my mind lately. And so I just wanted to kind of lay it out here. I'll link some resources in the description of the video. Maybe I'll do a blog post about it. If you liked this video, feel free to click the thumbs up, subscribe to this channel for more fun stuff about teaching and programming and things like that. If you have any advice for teaching or learning programming, right? I would love to hear from students who are currently learning programming. Leave them in the comments below and I will try to answer all of the comments. So thanks so much for watching. Have a good day.